This is an LCT RPK. Somebody else has done the work, gone back to them 2 or 3 times. It looks like all they've done is done the MOSFET, and he's having problems with semi-lock and things like that. That happens with AKs. A little tiny little MOSFET ain't going to do that. You need something that is optical, really, to get rid of any of the lockup you get in an AK variant. There's your first problem. That's bad, but there's bigger problems. This gun has blowback. This unit weighs a ton. And it sits right there, give or take. And as this goes backwards, it pulls on that, and the whole fucking thing goes back and recoils forward. The spring is really fucking heavy. Now, I've done these in things like the AKSU by LCT. This is how LCT make it. That's fine. But, big problem. First things first, that weighs a ton. Second problem, the piston is proprietary. And it weighs an absolute fucking ton. Okay? Check this out. That's crazy. It weighs a fucking ton, but it's proprietary. Without this piston, there ain't no blowback. The teeth are wearing already. Front and back. Biggest problem, the barrel. Check out the length of this motherfucker. Look at it. I haven't measured it, but it looks like that's about 600 millimeters. That is way too big for a regular cylinder. Way too big. We need a shorter barrel. But what's that? As that goes forward, this takes up room, reducing the volume to that much. The AOE is not good, so I'm going to have to correct that to about here, because you've seen what's happening to the teeth. It's going to need correcting. So we've now reduced this to the same volume as what you'd normally put inside a gun that is a 280mm barrel at most. Trying to pump ammo down a barrel that is at least a 600mm. This entire design is fucked. So the only solution, optical MOSFET so it doesn't lock up in semi. Gears, change that to standard gears. Piston, change that to a standard piston. Cylinder, change that to a standard full cylinder. Barrel, reduced in length to about 410 to 430. Then this gun will work. The battery lives in the handguard. So I'm going to drill the inside of the back of the receiver, and we're going to put it back here. More ridiculous fucking issues. Previous video of mine, I pointed out that there were 9mm bushings used by LCT, and it looked like it had been bored out to fit. And I was a little bit about it. I don't know if that was done by a retailer, or if it was done by a tech, or if it was done by LCT themselves. But I was annoyed because it cut into this area here. Well, I've just noticed that shit. See that crack? If I take this gear, look at that. That's fucking annoying, isn't it? And it's got that much movement on that one bushing because of that tiny fucking crack there. Now, it's not going to be too much of a fucking issue because I've seen gearboxes crack fucking here. I've seen them crack here. I've seen V3s crack here and here. Where that is there, it can't crack any further. It's already there. It ain't going to crack over here or over here, but there is a very small chance that it could crack on here to here. That's already on a curvature, so I'm going to very lightly round that out, radius it a little bit, which means the most natural point for it to crack straight down there, it's less likely to, and that's with our nice new cut inside here. I can't see it cracking anywhere else or getting any worse, but I'm certainly going to stick with solid bushings for it. That's how you fucking modify a rack. Just so you know, just for the constant wonder, that's how it's done. If you're sat there holding it with your hand and you've got a little fucking Dremel going, never going to be smooth. Grip that bitch in a vice and go full on, full handheld,
double clamping it, both hands, big fucking angle grinder. Nice breath in, hold it. As you can see, I'm going to throw this in the body of the piston. Make sure the teeth aren't contacting, and we'll go from there. Although it's perfectly level, it needs to come down probably 0.5 millimetre. The trick is, if you want to knock a tooth off like that, don't try and remove the entire tooth. That's standard G&G, came out of something else, you can see the tooth missing. You're never going to achieve that kind of smooth finish. You're not going to be able to. And the idea is we are not relying on the pickup tooth to grab that, and then the second tooth to pick up what remains of the second piston rack tooth. You are not relying on that because it ain't going to hold. It ain't going to hold. But as you can see, even if that tooth wasn't there, the one that I've just partially removed, if it wasn't there, my piston is still being perfectly pulled back by the initial pickup tooth. So that by the time it becomes ready to release, it's already connecting with the next tooth down and the one next to it. It's just easier and neater to remove a tiny section of this tooth than it is to remove the entire tooth. If you bollocks it up, it looks tatty, and even worse, you can compromise the durability and integrity of the rack itself. These gears are a little bit free to move, obviously the gearbox casing is not closed, but as you can see, as the piston goes back, biting perfectly on the teeth that I have not removed material from, and also the AOE is bob on. I keep going about AOE now because people keep fucking bitching at my old videos, and I stand by it. AOE correction just ain't fucking required unless there are particular instances. On one of these, not required, but for the sake of the spacer that I use that cost me about a penny, I don't give a fuck, I'll do it. But up the front of this gearbox, we've got the original LCT cylinder head, and that's got a big fucking pad on it from the amount of steel that is going to be smacked around by this fucking horrible thing here. So because of that, it was overcorrecting. So I had to remove part of a tooth. But by the time it's then biting on the teeth correctly, I had to add a spacer. And that is just because of how they've done the reinforcements on the front of this gearbox casing and the way they've used this particular pad on the cylinder head. I never intended this to be a fucking YouTube video, if I'm being perfectly honest, but there's been so much drama, it makes sense to do it, so I might as well fucking do something else you didn't know about, or may not know about, shall I say. If you've got some cheap fucking wood like this, I've taken his plastic off because it was damaged and gash, and I've got wood here that was donated to me, so I am donating it to him and throwing his plastic in a bits box. But it looks a bit cheap. Here's how you fix that. Follow the lines of the grain. This is the quickest and easiest way of improving the look of cheap wood without having to go to any of the lengths of sanding things, and something I really don't enjoy is fucking manual labour. I hate sanding. You can bring out some of the lines with the tiniest amount of spray paint, just jet black, Halfordsy shit, there you go. Bit more in there, and yeah, let's sew it a bit like that, and then a little bit of blowtorch, a little bit of black spray paint, a little bit of lacquer. That's your outcome. That's the stock. Pretty pleased with it. I've done some other modifications though. There's the wiring, that's how I dealt with it. quick detach up here for when you need to. And then all the way down here, this button was fucked. The buttons on the side are fucked. So I thought, what can I be doing? And I made a quick change back end. What do you reckon? None of that is sharp. It's all nice and smooth so you can get to the spring nice and easily. Just in case the site says, oh, you're 0.01 joule over the limit. There you go. You can now quick change it as well. Cool, right? The stock won't lock open because it doesn't have the fine details on the opposite side over here. But, fuck it. Just said, but fuck it. I've not installed that yet, so I guess you could, but fuck it. If you felt like it. It looks sexy, so I would.